All right, let's talk about something that trips up almost everyone at some point: Kubernetes networking. Ever feel like you've built this amazing app, but getting people from the outside world to it is a total mystery? Well, you're not alone, and today we're going to crack that code together. So let's just get right to it. Why does this have to be so complicated? It's a feeling that so many developers and ops folks have. Your code is working, the containers are running, but actually routing traffic to them feels like you're trying to navigate a maze, completely in the dark. It's a super common pain point. And here's the best way to think about it. Imagine your application, with all its little microservices, is like a huge, bustling city. And your pods? They're like pop-up shops. They appear one minute, and they're gone the next. If you didn't have a smart, organized traffic plan for that city, you just have total gridlock, right? Well, Kubernetes networking, that is the plan. So we're going to tackle this whole thing like a puzzle. Instead of reading some dry, technical manual, we're going to look at each piece, one by one, and see exactly how they all fit together to make a crystal clear picture. Let's start with the basics of the challenge. So here are the core problems we're trying to solve. First, we need our pods to be able to talk to each other. Then, they need a way to find each other. We also need to balance the workload between them. And of course, the big one, we need to let users from the internet in. But here's the kicker. All of this has to work dynamically, on its own, at a massive scale, across a whole bunch of machines. Now, to handle all that complexity, Kubernetes doesn't start with some crazy complicated solution. Nope. It starts with a few simple, really elegant rules. You can think of these as the fundamental laws of our application city. They're the rules of the road that bring order to all that potential chaos. And here they are. These are the 3 golden rules that everything else is built on. First, every single pod gets its very own unique IP address, just like every house on a street has its own address. Second, and this is huge, pods can talk directly to other pods without any complex network address translation, or NAT. This creates a simple, flat network, and that right there is the secret weapon that makes the rest of this possible. Okay, so let's grab that first piece of our puzzle, internal traffic. How do all the different parts of our app, all those different pods, talk to each other inside the cluster? Well, we immediately run into a pretty big problem. Pods are what we call ephemeral. They get created, they get destroyed, they get rescheduled on different machines. They're constantly changing. So that unique IP address they get, it's totally temporary. You just can't trust it. It'd be like trying to send a package to a friend who moves to a new apartment every single day. Which brings us to the most important question. If those pod IPs are always changing, how in the world does my front-end pod ever find my back-end pod? How can they possibly have a reliable conversation when their addresses are completely untrustworthy? And the answer? The hero of this story is the Kubernetes service. Think of a service as a permanent PO box for a group of pods. The pods themselves, they can come and go, but the service gives them a single, stable DNS name and IP address that never ever changes. It acts as this reliable go-between, automatically finding all the healthy, active pods and balancing the traffic between them. It's the permanent, stable address in our chaotic, ever-changing city. Awesome. So we figured out internal communication. Services have got our back. But what about the bigger challenge? How do we get traffic from the outside world, from a user's web browser, all the way into our application city? Well, back in the day, the approach was pretty simple, but really clunky. For every single service you wanted to expose to the world, you'd have to spin up a dedicated and usually pretty expensive cloud load balancer. You can imagine this gets really costly and super complicated really fast. The modern Kubernetes way is so much smarter. We use a single intelligent entry point for all of our traffic. And that smart entry point begins with an object called an ingress. Now, this is a really crucial point. The ingress itself is just a set of rules. That's it. Think of it like the blueprint for our city's traffic system. It doesn't actually direct the cars, it just defines the rules. It says things like, hey, if a request comes in for /API, you should send it over to the backend service. It's just the plan. So if the ingress is just the blueprint, what actually enforces the rules? Well, that is the job of the Ingress Controller. This is the actual software, the engine. We're talking about tools like Nginx or Traffic that's running inside your cluster. It's constantly reading those Ingress rule blueprints, and it acts like an intelligent traffic cop. It looks at every single car or request coming into the city and directs it to exactly the right place based on the plan.
All right, we've got all our pieces on the board now. We've got our pods, our services for internal communication, the Ingress blueprint, and the Ingress controller engine. Let's put it all together and follow one single request on its journey from the user all the way to our app.
Okay, here's the entire flow. A user's request from their browser first hits a single cloud load balancer. That load balancer has just one job: forward all traffic to our Ingress controller. The controller then looks at the request, checks its list of Ingress rules, and routes it to the correct internal service. And finally, that service sends it off to one of its healthy, ready-to-go pods. It's just a clean, logical, step-by-step handoff. And this is where the real magic happens. Because the Ingress controller understands HTTP, it can make some seriously smart routing decisions. For example, it can look at the path of the request and send anything for /API to your backend while sending /UI requests to your frontend. It can even route based on the host name, directing traffic for api.example.com to a completely different service than www.example.com. I mean, for building microservices, this is incredibly powerful. Okay, let's zoom out for a second. We've seen all the pieces and we've traced the path of a request from start to finish. Now let's talk about some best practices and really why mastering this flow is so absolutely critical for running real applications in production. This right here gives us a really clear, actionable checklist. Rule 1, use services to keep internal traffic internal. Rule 2, use Ingress as the one and only front door for all your web traffic. 3, centralize your security, your TLS certificates, right at the Ingress. 4, lock down communication between pods using network policies. And finally, you have to monitor everything. This is the playbook for running real-world, production-grade applications. And this really says it all, doesn't it? Understanding these concepts isn't just some academic exercise. When you can confidently trace how a user's request gets from their keyboard all the way to your code, you've moved past just running containers. You are mastering the flow of real-world production traffic, and that is an absolutely crucial skill for any modern engineer.
So there you have it. We've taken what seems like chaos and turned into a clear, understandable plan. We've demystified the networking puzzle. So the last thing I want to leave you with is this. Now that you have the blueprint, now that you know how to direct the traffic, what amazing things are you going to go build?